You don't need an interior designer to have a beautiful home, but you do need to think like one. If your space feels kinda meh, this video is for you. I'm sharing the little known designer tricks that will elevate your home without blowing your budget. Let's get one thing straight. A beautiful home doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone thought about how they wanted to live, what the space needed to do, and how it should feel. Too many people jump into decorating without planning. It's like showing up to an event without knowing where it is or what the dress code is. Is it a wedding, a funeral, or a birthday party? So, before anything else, ask yourself two things. How do you want to feel in this room? And what is its purpose? These aren't just random questions. They're the foundation of good design. Maybe you want your bedroom to feel like a serene spa retreat. Maybe your living room is for movie nights and relaxing. Or maybe it is a lively hub where kids play and jump around. Is your kitchen a busy place for entertaining? Or a quiet corner to brew your favorite tea? You don't have to pick one vibe for your entire home. Each room can have its own personality. But you do need to decide what that purpose and personality are, or you'll end up all over the place. Next, be honest about your room's limits. If you live in a small shoebox apartment with cream carpet you can't change, it is not going to become a soaring industrial loft with exposed brick. Sorry, it is not. The best designs happen when you lean into your constraints, not fight them. And most important of all, measure your space before you buy anything. I don't care how much you love that massive L-shaped sectional. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. Draft a basic floor plan using apps like Magic Plan or Floor Planner, and start with your anchor pieces like your sofa, bed, and dining table. This kind of thinking is the core of what I teach in my practical home design course. I'll walk you through how to make functional, intentional, and beautiful choices that work for your space and your life using the cozy method. When it comes to rugs, bedding, and art, bigger is almost always better. Oversized pieces create the illusion of a more generous space, which the human eye perceives as more luxurious. Let's start with rugs. A small rug will make your room feel disconnected and unbalanced, like the furniture is shrinking away from the walls. A larger rug, on the other hand, grounds the room and helps anchor all your furniture. Your rug should be wider than your sofa and ideally allow all your furniture to sit on top of it, or at least have the front legs of furniture sitting on it. It's one of the easiest ways to make a room feel elevated, so go as big as your budget allows. The same principle applies to bedding. Size up your quilt or doona so it drapes generously over the bed and hides the mattress. Some brands do offer more generous sizing, but otherwise, size up to make sure they're not hanging awkwardly above your mattress. And then there's art. Small pieces can work if you're very intentional about its placement, but on an empty wall or above a large furniture piece, a single large artwork becomes a statement and gives your eye a place to rest. Big artwork can be expensive, but you can always look at flea markets or collect things slowly over the years. I recently saw this hack where someone framed a section of peel and stick wallpaper with timber trim, and it looked incredible. Go bigger where it counts because it makes it feel thoughtful and generous and gives your home that curated high-end look. Painter's tape isn't just for getting clean edges when you paint. It is also one of the best tools for planning. I use it all the time to plan layouts, gallery walls, and even to test the size and placement of furniture or artwork. Why? Because it lets you check the scale before you commit. Instead of buying a table and realizing it is way too big or embarrassingly small, you can tape out its dimensions on the floor and then walk around it to make sure it flows nicely. The same goes for art. You can use tape to mock up the height and spacing before hammering a single nail. It is also perfect for laying out a rug size on the floor, testing where pendant lights or sconces should go, or checking mirror height and size. I can't recommend this little trick enough. It takes 5 minutes and can save you from months of silently hating that one piece that is just off. I'm not going to say that you can never have too many lights, but there will be moments, especially during the darker months, when you realize there's a dark corner in your room and no plug socket nearby. That is where rechargeable battery lights come in handy. Just keep in mind that most battery lights aren't very bright, so it's more for mood than task lighting. You can also get rechargeable light bulbs for wall sconces or picture lights, which means you can install them anywhere, no wiring required. If you're renting or just don't want to deal with hard wiring, plug-in sconces are a great option. You can mount them on the wall and conceal the cord with paintable covers for a cleaner look. I've used them in my bedroom, home office, and even a tiny reading nook in a past apartment. Plug-in pendant lights are also an option, at least here in Australia. A lot of downlights are actually just plugged into a socket in the ceiling. If that is the case in your home, you can get a simple plug-in pendant adapter to replace them. It is a quick, no-tools job, literally just unplug, snap in, and done. I've done this in both my reading nook and dining area, and it made such a huge difference. These are all easy upgrades that make your lighting more functional and far more stylish. If there's one principle that separates a thoughtfully designed space from one that feels off, it is cohesion. This doesn't mean everything has to match. In fact, mixing styles, materials, and even eras can create better results. The key is having an underlying thread, which I call the red thread, that ties it all together, even if it is subtle. You can check out this video where I go deeper about this. But to put it simply, there are several ways to create that cohesion. First is color. You can mix mid-century with traditional, have a Victorian cottage, and many more styles. But without a consistent color palette that flows throughout your furniture, decor, and accessories, the room ends up feeling chaotic instead of eclectic. You need a common color or material that ties all the different things together and creates that link. Otherwise, it looks like a shopping spree gone rogue. Second is repetition. Instead of trying to ignore something you dislike, say a reddish tone flooring, amplify it by repeating that color or finish elsewhere. That repetition turns an eyesore into a deliberate feature. It is a psychological trick where you make it look intentional, and your brain accepts it as a design choice. Cohesion through repetition is a trick many designers use, and once you learn it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. And finally, zoom out. One of the best ways to test if your space is cohesive is to take a photo of your room and look at the image. Does it look visually unified, and is there anything that looks out of place? And if you're struggling to picture how everything ties together, I've actually built a tool for that. It's called Room Visualizer AI. You simply upload a photo of your space and it instantly shows you a completely new look styled to your taste. It is like getting a designer's help in seconds. It is currently in beta and invite only, but you can join the waitlist via the link below. Styling isn't just about placing random objects around your space and calling it a day. It is about creating intentional little moments, what designers often call vignettes. Whether you're styling a console, a shelf, or a coffee table, the goal is to group things together in a way that tells a story. Start with variation. Use objects of different sizes, shapes, and materials to create contrast and keep things visually interesting. Next, always think in layers. Don't space items out evenly. Instead, overlap them to create an in front of and a behind, which adds depth. This works whether you're styling a bookcase, credenza, or cushions on the sofa. If styling an open surface like a console or sideboard, remember to also vary the height of objects. I like to use a classic trio: one tall item, one medium, one short. And if there's an empty wall behind it, hang or lean a mirror or artwork to give it even more dimension. Because if your objects are all spread out and at the same height, it will look super boring. Lighting completely changes how things look. Not just paint, but wood tones, upholstery, tiles, pretty much everything. A cool white paint can look crisp in one room, but turn gray or blue in another room under different lighting conditions. A warm oak cabinet that looked perfect on screen or in the showroom might look very different once they are placed in your room. That is why I always advise my clients to order and test samples in their actual room. What you see in the morning won't be the same as in the evening, and will certainly be different at night under artificial light. Here's a quick breakdown of how different orientation affects color. But the general rule is that northern exposure adds blue to a color, while southern adds yellow-white. But if you live in the southern hemisphere like me, north and south are reversed. Similarly, artificial light also changes how things look, as different light bulbs have different CRI, color rendering index, which affects how accurately they show color. Cheaper bulbs tend to have lower CRIs, making colors look dull or washed out. If you ever wondered why your room looks sad at night, this could be one of the reasons. So here's the golden rule. Leave your samples up for a few days. Look at them in the morning, afternoon, and evening, under natural and artificial light, because lighting literally changes what you see. So make sure you're seeing the real version of the material you're about to commit to. The best rooms all have a little tension, and the tension comes from contrast. That means pairing elements that are opposite of each other. Think old and new, curved and angular, smooth and textured. Say in this home, look how they've mixed a primitive bench with a modern stone pedestal. Then there's a woven basket with a smooth sculptural vase. And in the kitchen, there's a mix of modern and traditional cabinets. These kinds of contrasts make a room more exciting and dynamic, and it's one of the core design principles every designer uses. Because when everything matches too perfectly, it starts to feel flat and predictable. But a little bit of tension keeps your eyes and brain engaged. And once you start noticing it, you'll see it in every well-designed room. One of the easiest ways to make a space feel elevated is by adding more texture, especially if you're working with a simple or neutral color palette. Texture adds depth, richness, and that sense of something's going on here, even when the colors are quiet. The mistake most people make is thinking texture is just about the core, like cushions and throws. But really, it should be considered from the ground up. If you're renovating or building, start with the base layers, flooring, architectural details, even hardware. Otherwise, pay attention to the big items like rug, curtain, and main furniture pieces. Natural fibers like wool, velvet, linen, and cotton can soften a room and add movement, while materials like timber, stone, marble, and clay can add so much interest to a room versus just another MDF. Even artwork makes a difference. Choose pieces with brushstrokes, layered media, or a raw timber frame. Anything with depth beats a flat digital print. Plants are another cheat code. They instantly add movement, organic texture, and a lived-in feel. And remember your smaller textiles like cushions, throws, and bedding, which are easy ways to finish a space. Because when everything in a room is smooth and flat, it feels cold. But when you layer texture, it feels warm, inviting, and styled. If you're not sure where to start, I've put together a free guide called Secrets to a Beautiful Home. It includes a decorating checklist and a video guide that will help you as you're decorating your home. Most people think balance means everything has to be symmetrical, but in design, it is more about visual weight and composition. Visual weight is how heavy or light something feels in a space. Two objects can be the same size but feel totally different. A dresser that sits flat on the floor will appear heavier than one with legs. A dark, chunky sofa will feel weightier than a light, streamlined one, even if they take up the same footprint. Think of your space as a continuous visual loop. Your eye should be able to move naturally from one element to another. But if your eye stops or gets stuck somewhere, the balance is likely off. For example, if everything in a room sits low, your eye gets stuck on the bottom half of the room. But when you add vertical elements like wall sconces, pendants, suddenly the eye moves up and around, completing the loop. Similarly, when you have a central fireplace and fully decorate the left side of the wall and leave the right empty, your eye gets stuck. But when you decorate both sides, the eye moves around, completing the loop. Once you understand how balance and visual weight works, you'll start seeing it everywhere. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to fix it when something feels off. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video on design mistakes that cheapen your home, or this video on the secret sauce to every well-designed space. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.